Hey folks, a little surprise. We've got JC here in studio, ready to tell you how you can get your best sound right out of your home studio. Let's talk about it. So the big question is this: how do voiceover artists like us, who are looking to take our careers to the next level, but don't buy into the club, needing expensive equipment and demos, bringing in new clients, how do you follow a clear path to change voiceover side hustle into your full-time job? Stick it to those that you could. Those are the questions, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Earl Hall, and welcome to In the Booth with Earl Hall, where we know how to grind and don't quit. All right, guys, welcome into this edition of In the Booth with Earl Hall. We've got more than a couple of things going on. Sorry if the stream isn't perfect, but hey, the show must go on. We have JC in the house with us right here to talk about what we're going to be doing to help you out right here at Earl Hall Studio to help you get the best sound possible out of your home studio. What's going on, John? How you doing this morning, man?
Hey, Grind and Don't Quit crew. Doing great, Earl. How you doing today?
Doing pretty good, man. I know it's early for you. I know you're up early, so I definitely appreciate you being here.
Only 8 a.m. out here in Los Angeles.
8 a.m. Okay. Well, hey.
Not bad.
But what we've got going on over the past couple of days, probably about closer to a week, we've been talking about the different stuff that's coming in as far as comments and questions to Earl Hall Studio for people to be able to get better sound out of their home studio. I know that last week you helped me out once I got my booth back here, kind of evaluate the sound that we were having and also just helping me tighten up what it was that I needed to tighten up. What is it that you see as maybe one of the most common problems that people have with getting the best sound out of their home studio setup?
Man, Earl, I got to tell you, I think you have said this maybe once. Maybe I've heard you say it twice. I'm not sure. Your room acoustics, your recording environment. That's going to be your most critical thing to look at as as any VO at any stage in your career. But microphone choices, we all could love playing the gear game. We all love, trying to upgrade our DBXs and our microphones and everything else. But I'll tell you, put $1,000 microphone in a crappy room and you've got crappy audio. Exactly. Yeah. You said it plenty of times, and there's not much else to say to that. Your room is critical. Every room has a room tone. Every room has its own sound by its size, the air pressure, temperature goes to play in this. I mean, these are all minutia, but all of these factors play into the sound of your room. The reflective surfaces, the absorbent surfaces, everything that goes into what your voice is reflecting off of, which really, really impacts the character of your voice. Definitely.
Over the years that you've been doing this, because give us a little bit of back history about what it is that JC does, from day to day.
So I'm a freelance audio engineer. I work in music. I have worked for music studios for many, many years, operated my own music studios. I've had the good fortune of working with some amazing producers and musicians, some people with some really golden ears. I have worked in the production industry and post-production industry out here in Los Angeles as a freelance audio engineer. I've recently done some Foley mixing on a major film that's coming out and some production audio for some independent work and some documentary work. I'm a voiceover artist. I've been a voiceover artist for the last few years, going on about 3 now, really ramping it up over the last year and a half since I've been working with you, Earl. And I finally decided as an audio engineer, working as an audio engineer for over 20 years, to turn the mic around on myself after working with artists, singers, voice talent, actors for many, many years out here in Los Angeles and before, running my own studio back in Dallas. Hello, Dallas. And just getting that experience and that knowledge of listening to voices, listening to spaces, listening to microphones, understanding what I'm hearing back in an audio chain, understanding if, compression is oversaturating or EQ isn't or right for the voice or the microphone isn't right for the voice. Listening to different environments from doing live shows. I started off as a live engineer and currently still have a live recording business where I go out and record live shows. So knowing the environment that I'm recording in is critical in my day-to-day work, whether it's live recording, studio production and engineering, or voiceover. So I apply this skill that I've worked on for over 20 years on a daily basis.
And it's funny. One of the things that you brought up, and I want to ask you this question because I remember if I had the question, I feel like a bunch of other people have the question. You started talking to me a month or so or 2 months or whatever back about Foley. And I had no idea what Foley was. And I think that tell people what Foley is. I didn't know, and I've been in voiceover forever. So what is Foley? I want people to know what that is.
So Foley is a term that's used in movie making. It's a audio process in the movie making process. So it's something that is specific to movie making, but we are using it. We're using a lot of the elements of Foley in the voiceover demos that we work on. Foley is an interesting part of the process. When a movie is made, it's often filmed silently, in that everything around the actors is silent. The actors' dialogue is king in voiceover, king or queen, as it were, in voiceover for sure, because that's what we're doing, as well as in film. You have to hear the dialogue that's happening on the screen. So if they're filming a shot that might be in a nightclub, for example, the actors will be interacting with each other, but everybody around them is silent. All the glasses moving and being sat down on the tables are silent. There is no music happening in the club. None of that is happening. Everybody's kind of shuffling around as quiet as they can. That set is super quiet. After the fact, in post-production, we'll go in and we add all of those elements to create the environment that those actors are in. So in that nightclub scenario, every footstep, every glass clink, every person walking by, you would hear in the Foley mix. Same thing happens on, let's say, a regular scene where two people are having a cup of coffee in a cafe. You will go through and you will accentuate certain elements. So grabbing a coffee mug, putting a coffee mug down, moving a chair out, scooting a chair in, all of those elements are added afterwards. Some of them do come from production, recording the day of, but we will go back and hit all of those elements again to reinforce them, so that when a re-recording mixer, who's the last guy in the chain mixing a movie, gets all those elements together, from sound effects, which include Foley, music, dialogue, backgrounds, all these different elements that they mix together, they can compile a complete picture of the scene. Oftentimes, movies are sent to other countries so that they're dubbed in other languages. Well, if an actor's speaking in English and a sound effect happens while the actor's speaking, let's say there's a crash through a door or something like that, that has to be replaced in post, because the dialogue, the English speaker was happening, the action had to happen when the dialogue was happening, let's say. That's just, part of the script. That has to be replaced. So in whatever language it's dubbed in, that sound has to still be there because we see the action on the screen. So Foley is the act of replacing the sounds that we see on the screen, augmenting the sounds we see on the screen to make that part of the movie, to make that scenario sound more lifelike.
Gotcha. That was a spot-on explanation, because I would have just said it's just the extra sound effects in the background of a movie.
One of the funnest things that I think people, if you think about it, what a Foley artist does, and to kind of bring this around to what we're doing, some of you may have seen, you'll see somebody in a studio and they're looking at a big screen and they might have a bunch of stuff around them, like gadgets and stuff to make noises, doorknobs, handles, whatever it is that they need to recreate the sound. And they're watching the action and they're replicating the action they're seeing on the screen with whatever the object is that the actor is interacting with. The important part of this is those are the reality. Those are the sounds that bring you into that scene. Those are the sounds as a listener make you step out of the fact that you're in a movie theater or in your living room. Same thing is applied to voiceover. I take elements from Foley, which is basically recreating those sounds, and I will put them into our voiceover demos to create that version of reality, to kind of give you that element of being in the moment, if you will,
Right.
in the story. So those sound effects factor into the whole way demo production is made. And then again, to what we're talking about today, as far as knowing your room, knowing the sounds that your voice is creating off of that.
Right.
All of that just goes to my experience in creating sounds and listening to audio.
Absolutely. So someone that is creating Foley sounds, they could literally be like a woman or a man, I guess, in a pair of high heels on a wood floor, mocking the steps of someone that is stepping.
Absolutely. I
Okay.
am not a Foley artist myself. I don't do the action of creating it. I work with a Foley artist. I engineer for a Foley artist. I'm a Foley mixer, would be the correct terminology on that. The Foley artist that I work with, I will not show any pictures of him in his high heels.
Oh my gosh. Well, let me see. I'm going to switch over here to the chat room. Everybody's saying hello, hey to you, JC. They're glad to see you in here, which I am just thrilled to have you on to explain some of these things that go on. And we're going to get into, I mean, obviously, how people can get their best demo created by Earl Hall Studio, with JC being our audio production engineer. You can obviously tell JC has a wealth of knowledge. This guy knows what it is that he's doing, and he's been doing it for a long time. One of the things that, or probably the thing, which is the main part of this program today, is basically, you know, how you can get better sound out of your own home studio. And the questions come in hot and heavy via email, via instant message, whether it's on Facebook, Twitter, whatever. People are always asking, look, can you take a listen to my demo, please, Earl? Can you take a listen to my audio and tell me what I need to do? And it's like, okay. So through talking with JC, we've developed the program in order for you to be able to do that. And the link is actually in the description of the video, whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, whatever, wherever you're watching it from. It's the first link that is in the description. And JC, let's go through a couple of the things that folks are going to be getting with this. The initial thing is obviously, you know, the sound check. Get a sound check evaluation of your studio. You know, we have in here, we're going to give you the information about the quality of audio recording regarding the following criteria, as well as possible solutions for improvement. We're going to talk about your noise floor. You know, that's what is the level of noise in your recording when you're not speaking. And that's real important. Is that correct, JC? I mean, that noise floor is an important aspect.
Noise floor and room tone kind of go hand in hand, although noise floor also addresses any additional noise in your signal chain. So
okay.
Let's say you have something plugged in wrong, or
like I did.
I wasn't going to call you out, boss.
Like I did, you know.
I wasn't going to call you out. Yes, so noise floor goes to any noise that is there when you're not speaking. It is kind of the bottom line hum level of noise that is creating your fundamental bass before you even start speaking. So any kind of electrical hum, any kind of digital noise, anything that may be in your gain staging. You might have your mic preamp turned up too loud at some point and you're getting some extra hiss. It could be a bad cable. There are numerous things that can create noise floor to your recording, which is a little different than room tone, although those factors go in together. Room tone is just the sound over your room when you're silent. The noise floor is the additional noise that's in your room tone when you're not speaking.
Let's talk a little bit about audio levels, because that's one of the things I think a lot of VOs, especially newbies, you know, they struggle with. I'll get audio sent to me and it's like I can barely see the WAV file. And then you'll get audio that is clipping. Explain what the difference is in those two things.
Just blown out. Yeah. So audio levels are critical. You want to find the sweet spot for your recording level. If it's too low, when you turn it up and compress it, or like a lot of voiceover artists do, they normalize it at the final. what you're doing is you're raising the initial recording level up so loud that you're also bringing up that noise floor. So if you have that level too low, you don't hear your noise floor. You don't realize that you have that extra noise because all you're able to hear is your voiceover.
Yeah.
But then you turn it up even louder to get your voiceover up, and then you go,
right,
wow, why does it sound so noisy? And you didn't notice it before. That's a too low level recording. Let's say you have your level, the opposite, too hot when you're recording, and you're getting up close to clipping or even clipping that light, and you don't realize that you're actually saturating. Digital clipping, we all use DAWs, Digital Audio Workstation, that's what that stands for, and clipping is not forgiving in digital, unlike the analog days where you wanted some of that warmth coming off of your analog gear. In digital, once you hit clipping, that's clipping. You're gone, and that's not retrievable. It's not fixable.
Yeah.
So what happens a lot of times is people record way too hot, which maybe they're right at that edge or they're not, but then they apply some extra EQ or some extra compression or normalizing, which blows them past the point of an okay sounding recording, and it just sounds. It sounds saturated. It sounds distorted in a way. It sounds overcompressed, and that's when you see like the WAV files are just like slammed up.
Yeah, they're squared off at the top. They're all the way up or all the way below, and it's just a square. You don't have a peak or anything like that. It's just deep. You went too hot, with that. And by the way, guys, go ahead and throw in your questions in here. I see Mage Pro has asked a question. He's asking, JC, are you against the constant use of a noise gate? I don't know if there's enough context for you to answer that question, but go ahead and tackle it.
Am I against it? Yes and no, if that's ambiguous enough for you. Here's my take on a noise gate. I think noise gates work fine. I know we're all proponents of the DBX286. I know that gating ahead of time and gating afterward is important to delivering clean audio. The caveat to that is making sure that you have that noise gate set properly. Sure. A lot of times, if you don't pay attention, again, let's go back to recording level. If your recording level is not set hot enough, your noise gate is not going to react appropriately to the input level, and you may be cutting off a little bit of an S at the end of a word. And you don't realize it because it's so quiet that when it gets blown up, you might have clipping or it just might fall off unnaturally. Noise gates also can be set wrong at the beginning to where it's just too harsh of an opening and you don't have enough of a pre-delay to let that gate open naturally so it sounds clipped or it sounds a little harsh when you're starting. Sure. Noise gates are great for cleaning up everything in between when you're not speaking. Then that allows you, saves you some time in editing, obviously. That being said, though, a noise gate can trick you into thinking your audio is clean because you don't have the skill to listen to the sound behind your voice when you're speaking. So back to that idea of noise floor. If you have a lot of noise in your recording, if your noise floor is high, if you have ambient, if you have digital noise, if you have a hum, if you have something that's creating a noise floor that you don't want, when you're not speaking, that gate will cut that out. And that's great for everybody. Everybody's happy about that. But when you are speaking, that noise is still in your recording.
Exactly.
And anybody listening with critical ears, if you're sending your voice over to an audio engineer or a production house, they're going to have those ears. They're going to have that critical listening environment, and they will hear when you're speaking, oh, wow, there's some noise in that background. Nothing they can. There are some things we can do about it. I mean, there's different programs that'll clean and whatnot, but that's an extra step that really, as a voiceover artist, you're trying to provide the best quality audio you can, and not being aware that you have that noise because the gate is tricking you to think it's not there. That's the caveat with the noise gate.
Sure. And I'm assuming that the threshold on your gate is going to matter as well with a lot of that. But again, if you've got noise, you've got noise, and you've got to figure out how to get that out. Is there such a thing as an acceptable amount of room tone or noise?
So yes, two different terminology things here. Again, noise floor is any additional noise in your recording that you don't want. Room tone can be let's have this. Room tone can enhance your audio, which is why we put up acoustic treatment, which is why sometimes you hear about diffusers. Sometimes you'll hear people say you don't necessarily want it all absorbent. There are a bunch of different theories to that, and that's subjective. That's a matter of taste as far as how dry, ambient you want your voice. but the noise floor, you're right, you don't want that in there. So room tone and noise floor being two separate things,
Okay.
you know, in that definition.
With what it is that we're offering right now, and again, the link is in the description of this video if you want to check out how you can work directly with JC in order for him to get your studio right as far as sound goes. You know, with that, we're going to be taking, or JC rather, is going to be taking a look at acoustics, processing. Now, let's talk a little bit about what it is that you need from folks to send to you, you know, initially to get a, you know, evaluation, just a sound check of what's going on.
Right. So the first thing we're offering is sound check. You've heard, you know, live situations, people are going sound check, 1, 2, 3, check, 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 1, 2, 3. That's what we're doing here, basically. In a sound check, I want to hear the room that you're in and the quality of audio you're sending me. So let's take your example, Earl, since you brought it up.
I was your first guinea pig on doing this. I mean, after I got the booth, and then, you know, you got me buying JBL speakers over here. You got me, you know, disconnecting this and plugging this into that. And, you know, I was like, forget it. I'll do this next month. But then it bugged me too much. I had to just go in and do it. One, because I had auditions to do. It's like, what am I going to do here?
Yeah. No, and I know you. You never wait on anything.
No.
So a great example, you got your booth and you asked me for, you know, hey, my opinion, what do I think about what's happening there? And the first thing, I mean, I was able to work on your demo, which I was humbled to do. But when I got your original audio, I did hear some artifacts in there that I let you know about, which was your noise floor. There was some digital noise. I could hear your room when you were speaking. The office that you're in has reflective walls, has a low ceiling. Even though you have some sound absorbent material up, you have the panels, which are great for some high-end reflection. They weren't actually dampening the room because it's, you know, it's a rectangle, and so you have standing room nodes and everything happening in the physics of audio. And I could still hear that. So I mentioned that to you. And then after you got your booth here recently, you did some recordings for me. And you said, you know, what do you think? I immediately could hear the size of your booth, which means I could hear the low-end room tone, the room node, or the frequency that was reverberating off of your natural ambience, your natural, I should say, timbre in your voice. And I could hear some low-end buildup. So just the idea of going and buying, you know, whisper room, vocal booth, whatever, doesn't necessarily solve your problems, because that addresses some issues, that gets rid of your outside noise, that isolates you, but that doesn't deal with the sound that's actually inside that booth. So just purchasing a sound booth, you think, oh, great, I've got my booth, I'm going to step in, I'm all good. Well, now you still had to treat the sound.
More money, more problems.
And to solve your problems, it was simply a matter of adding some low-end diffusers to kind of cut some of that low-end boominess that I was hearing that was unnatural, that we were hearing in your voice. Kind of the same thing in what you were asking, what are the requirements for the audio? What I'm asking for are two different files depending on how you record your audio and what you do with it. So the first file that I request when you go to sign up for a sound check is I ask you to record raw audio. That means your audio going from your microphone straight into your recording software. No DBX in the chain, bypassed or simply take it out. No effects processing, meaning no EQ, no compression, no normalization, nothing like that in the recording chain. I just need to hear your raw audio. This achieves a couple of things for me. I'm able to hear the room tone noise floor. I'm able to hear the quality of your voice unprocessed. If you're putting EQ on it after the fact and you're taking out, let's say in your example, Earl, you had a lot of low end. If you were compensating for that in EQ and sent me a file with that EQ'd out, I wouldn't know that that's in your original recording to say, hey, here's how you can fix your original problem so you don't have to EQ it on the back end.
Exactly.
So the raw recording is critical to hearing just what is going straight into your DAW. In that raw recording, I also require 30 seconds of room tone before and after you speak. So ideally, and preferably, if you could step out of the recording space that you have your microphone set up. If it's in the same room, I get it. If you can hit record and still step out, that's great, because let's say you have your computer sitting next to your mic. I might hear your computer spinning away and tell you, hey, that's part of your noise floor problem.
Yeah.
If you're sitting in the room that you're recording in and you're breathing or moving around, I won't be able to get a clear vision or a clear audio vision of what is happening with you in that. So a little bit of silence before, a little bit of silence after, speaking normally as you would for if you're a commercial voiceover artist, narration artist, whatever your normal kind of speaking range is, up to a minute of audio, and then a minute on 30 seconds on each side, so approximately 2 minutes total of raw audio.
Okay.
If you use processing, if you use EQ, if you normalize after the fact, if you deliver your audio in any way other than the raw original format, I will ask you for a second file. Same criteria, 30 seconds before, 30 seconds after with silence. Talk to me for about a minute, and I can then hear in your processing chain what you're doing, if you're doing something wrong or if it's helping or hurting the quality of the audio. Over compression, over normalization, your recording level, as we spoke to before, is set too low, and then when you're raising it up, I can hear that room tone come up. If your normalization or your compression is set too high, and you might have oversaturation, which some people might not notice, that could cause some distortion in your voiceover. That some people, again, clipping is clipping. Some people might notice it, some people might not. But if it's there, anybody that you're sending it to probably will notice it.
Yeah.
So those are your files.
Well, I mean, with the initial thing, we're about running out of time here right now. This has all been just great. I mean, even though I talk to you just about every day, I still learn. I love just listening to you talk about this audio process, because it's not my wheelhouse. It's yours. That's why you're on the team doing this. With that, you're just the man. And I say that to you almost every day. You're the man, when it comes to this. So we've got the offer there for anyone that wants to get a sound check on their space, where you can send JC some files. He can take a listen and tell you what's going on in your room. Then above and beyond that, what we're going to offer as well is, a room acoustics check, which is basically what I'm just going to read what I've got here. Get everything. No, that's not it. You've got the recording process down. You've got the noise floor is low, the mic technique set, but your audio is still not quite there. More than likely, your room is the reason for the problem. This is almost impossible to fix after recording. Often, even a booth or closet still needs treatment, and acoustic foam on the wall isn't adequate, and another solution is need for professional studio quality recordings. He's going to review your audio sample and give you feedback. He's going to do a 15-minute Skype call with you that you can schedule to review your recording space. He's going to take a look at what you got via Skype, so it's got to be Skype video. He's going to give you some options on that, list of acoustic treatment solution that fits your needs, and provide a list of material suggestions to fix the acoustics. If you're serious about voiceover, if this is what you're going to do, there is nothing else for you to do other than to sign up to get this done. If you're a newbie, if you're intermediate, if you do not understand any of this, you need to talk to someone that's a pro at it. JC is that person to get with.
Let me tell you a couple things, Earl. When listening, you mentioned that I will listen to your audio. Yes, I will put my critical listening ears on, my audio engineering cap, having listened to audio for, like I said, over 20 years and being able to analyze it. Something that is a skill that I wanted to mention, which is listening critically to audio. One skill that we work on as audio engineers is being able to listen to frequencies the same way other people might be able to, other people, I can identify, unless you're colorblind, identify colors. So you and I will see, green or blue, and we go, yeah, that's green or blue. Everybody agrees. I can listen to audio and pretty much be able to tell you, oh, that's around 2K, or it's muddy at 300 hertz, clean up a couple dB, knock down a couple dB at 300 hertz. I have learned to listen to frequencies and identify frequencies in my everyday, I practice this all the time. I practice this skill set so that if I hear a beep, a tone, I go, that's got to be around 5K. And I will check that to make sure my hearing and what I'm interpreting is correct. Same thing, you mentioned that I will listen to the audio. I will critically listen to the audio, but I also analyze it. I do, rely on my ears. Ultimately, if it sounds great, it is great. But I do analyze all the audio as well. So I will back up what I am interpreting from your audio with plugins, the EQ plugins, to verify, what's happening in that frequency range. I will analyze it to see where that, how big that noise floor is. What is that noise floor range? So I do put some critical analyzing tools to that audio as well.
Amazing. Amazing. Listen, guys, you can get a hold to JC. Just go on their website, stepstovoiceoversuccess.com. It's right there on the homepage. You're going to see the links to get your acoustics checked out. There's also a link in the description for you to go and order it right now and get this thing going. If you don't know, if the stuff that JC just talked about was way over your head like it was for me, it means you need this. That's exactly what it means. It means that you need this. I utilize it. I mean, he spent time with me. I'm sounding amazing right now, but I'm sure he still got some tweaks for me to take care of as well. So get with the program that JC is offering right now. It's at stepstovoiceoversuccess.com. And also it's in the link in the description for this video. Hey guys, tomorrow is Open Mic Friday. I'm answering any questions you have about voiceover. Come with your questions tomorrow, and tomorrow is the last day for the contest too. So we got a lot of things to talk about on tomorrow. JC, I want to thank you for being here, buddy. Glad to have you on the team. You're a very integral and important part of this whole thing that we do here for creating demos, doing commercials, the whole 9 yards. So I'm honored to have you as a part of the team for Earl Hall Studio.
Earl, it's my pleasure. And I have to tell you, I love the voiceover industry. I love audio. And so it's great that two of my passions can combine together to help other voiceover artists, to help other people in this industry. I love talking shop. However I can help. I'm glad to be here, and I'm really humbled to be part of the team.
All right, guys. Well, hey, hang on after I go off air. We're going to talk a little bit. All right, guys. Well, look, I'll see you guys tomorrow. You guys have an awesome and amazing Friday Eve.